brand is the feeling that the audience gets when they learn about the product or the company. Without a great story that is anchored in a solid positioning framework, it's just so hard to do that well. The sooner companies document that positioning and that narrative, the more powerful their message is going to be in the market. So many companies still just do what I call random acts of marketing. AI lets you completely reimagine new processes. Not every CEO is going to be a great storyteller. Not every CEO is going to be your spokesperson. I learned more from the 2 hours of interviewing their customers on camera than I learned from any demo or talking to anybody on the team.
So when I was having my twins, they came early, and I had to let a guy go that day. At that time, I'm walking down the hallway to the conference room to go talk to him. Wendy calls, and she's like, "You have to get to Stanford now. I'm having the twins." And I'm just going, "Wendy, I have to go let this poor guy go." She's like, "I don't give a get down here right now." So I walk in. The guy had only worked there a week. And I had to go in there, and I tell him, and he just flips out, right? He's throwing everything everywhere. Like, he's pissed. He's like, "No way. No way. Nope. No way." And I just go, "Dude, I know this sucks. I just have to tell you, I'll talk to you about it another time, but I got to go because my wife's having kids." And it was so bad, so brutal. And he kept going, "No, stay in here. You have to stay in here." And I said, "I got to go." So I had literally had to, while he's wigging out, just leave the HR guy. And there was like he was he was a finance guy masquerading as an HR guy. I had to leave him in the room and just go. And then he calls me. He's like, "Yeah, the guy wants, whatever, severance." And I'm like, "Just freaking give it to him. I can't." He's like, "Wait, he's asking for like 4x what we're doing." I'm like, "I don't give a shit. Just give it to him." So anyway, there you go. That's a let people go story and a birth. So it was bad and good at the same time.
A beginning and end.
Yeah, in many ways. Great stories have that.
From ABM to PLG, from medic to medpic, the world of business is constantly evolving. We'll cover the who, what, where, when, why, and most importantly, how you get the transaction. I'm Matt Amundson, and he's Craig Rosenberg. Let's get started.
Stacey, welcome aboard. I just want to say that you are pretty famous.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
No, I don't.
I knew you wouldn't know that.
That's another Stacey Epstein. And yes, I know my last name is extremely problematic these days, but it must be someone else.
I did not get them confused, but
good.
That's good. You probably get to do a lot of those jokes these days. No?
Well, it's funny because I started my career at Oracle, and I don't know if you remember, but the CEO or one of the top guys at Oracle at Sybase was named Bob Epstein, and my dad's name is Bob Epstein. And I was this like young whippersnapper at Oracle, and people would say, "Are you related to Bob Epstein?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he's my dad." And they're like, "Why are you working at Oracle then?" And now, of course, my dad's brother is named Jeff Epstein. And so people say, "Are you related to Jeff Epstein?" That's not the same Jeff Epstein, but yes, my uncle is named Jeff Epstein. So I am related, but not to that Jeff Epstein.
Dare I say that was a twist?
A twist. We love twists.
It had rising action. It had a cliffhanger. And
maybe I'll be famous
twist
someday if I keep doing that.
Oh my God!
That's
well,
like
you
an
are
M. Night
famous.
Shyamalan film.
Yeah.
Hold on, let's go through the big hits. Success factors.
Yep.
Service Max. CEO of your own company, then bought back to Service Max.
Yes, another twist.
An acquisition, Boomerang. CMO of Freshworks, another big hit. CMO of Viva, another big hit. Like, what are we doing here? And now,
who's your recruiter, and can I have their direct line?
Yeah, exactly. Jesus Christ.
I think when you're as old as I am, you have time to do lots of different interesting things. So there you go.
Oh my God. Well, speaking of interesting things, also, you've got an AI podcast, right? That you, I believe,
Yes.
I remember the name.
Yep.
AI've got questions,
That's
which
right.
is
Yep.
that is such a marketer name. Now,
That's
just
wonderful.
Thank
yeah,
you.
it's such a good name. Damn it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
We're
so
stuck here
that
with the transaction. Jesus.
Well,
what are you talking about? Ours is hardcore. It's a little
No,
different.
ours is good, but it's not.
I
an
have
SEO
questions.
nightmare.
Yeah, AI have questions. I know it is. Yeah, AI have questions is really good.
Thank you.
So anyway, Stacey, that is why we welcome Stacey Epstein to the show. And yes, indeed, you are famous because that's like you played for the Yankees, Lakers, Alabama during the heyday of the Knicks. I mean, like those are incredible companies that you've. That you've done amazing work for, and now you're diving deep into AI, so you're the
Yes,
perfect
I
guest
am.
for the show.
Thank
so
you.
welcome
Thank
aboard.
you. It's great to be here. Thank you so much. I prefer Warriors to Lakers, but whatever.
Yeah, that's true. I
Well,
should've said
not
that.
everybody can be perfect, but
That's true. That's
Yeah,
true.
Matt is a Laker fan, so you guys can
okay.
discuss.
Well, my husband is a huge Yankees fan, so when he hears this, he's going to be very happy that you actually put me on that team.
All
right. Look at
well,
that.
see, I did
So thank you.
something good.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. All right, so Stacey, I don't know if you're ready for us, but like we are kind of crazy and fun as telling stories about some guy who definitely doesn't listen to the podcast. The guy I let go while my wife was having twins. But we basically, the show is broken into two, but they often meld together. One, we just like to hear stories from folks, and on the go-to-market side, their favorite stories. One usually leads into the rest, and then two, like this will be really interesting. Like you're a famous OG digging into AI. We'd love to find out like what are the 1 to 3 things you're seeing working today in the market. It's a different world out there. So those are the two questions, but we like to start with a story.
Mm-hmm.
Could be fun, could be horrifying, could be
horrifying is a new
heroic.
I mean,
Well,
I have a story that's borderline horrifying.
Yes,
You love that.
Okay.
See,
We're
Matt,
We're heading
what
into
happened?
Is this going to air on Halloween?
At the
Here we go.
time, it was
We will make it.
horrifying to me. I have gotten over it, but I mentioned I started my career at Oracle in like my
there's
early
lots of horrifying
20s.
stories
The whole DMD, like inside sales. I was on the channel side, and my very best friend was this woman / girl. I mean, we were like 23, named Diane Christoph. And she was
Great name.
my very, very closest friend. She then got married and changed her name, but whatever. And you know how it was back in those days, like your colleagues were your best friends and your boyfriends and who you spent the weekend with and whatever. So there was a lot of extracurricular things that went on. And this was like in the beginning of email, and that's how I'm dating myself. But it wasn't like you had a Gmail and then you also had your Oracle email, right? Everyone just had their Oracle email, and we use that to do work, and we use that to figure out what we were going to do on the weekend. And you would create these little aliases for all of your friends. And I did it all based on initials. And so my alias for Diane Christoph was DC. So I sent an email to DC, and the title was something like Jason, because at the time there was something going on
There's
with Jason.
always a Jason.
And
There's
then there
always a
was an extensive email to Diane about Jason and my thoughts on Jason and what was going on with Jason and questions. And, this was what we did when we were 23. Well, what I didn't realize in my youth was that there were already aliases created for every office, and I had sent my email to the entire Washington, D.C. Oracle. Every single person in the D.C. area got my email about Jason in depth.
What?
Horrifying. But what's even more horrifying was that if you want to talk about being famous, that is what made me famous, because everybody wanted to know what was going to happen next. I got emails from like VPs that, I mean, I worked in California. I did not work in DC. I did not know any of these people, but I got hundreds of emails of people like, I need to know, did you talk to him? What happened next? And I would continue to get emails. I eventually moved up into a global role. And for years, people would remember that extensive email that I had sent. So yes, horrifying. Even as I retell it, I get a little bit of a pit in my stomach of when I realized what I had done. I wanted to quit.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That was a great story.
Well, thanks.
Your guys' thoughts?
My thoughts are, as you moved into the global role when you sent it to DC, did it go to the Democratic Republic of Congo?
Oh, good
That'd be
idea.
DRC.
DRC, my bad.
Yes. No, it did not. It was, I did change my aliases going forward, my full strategy for alias. And I can't say I've ever sent an email to the wrong person again because I like read it 10 times before I send it. I'm still friends with Jason, by the way, and Diane. It's all good.
Okay.
Good laugh.
Okay. Well, it all worked out.
It all worked
I have
out.
two things I'll take from that story. You guys ready?
Yeah.
The very straight man comments. One is, no, that was not the phrase I meant to use there. I just meant like I'm being just normal comments. So one is, like for SDRs, like in inside sales, that is why you want them to go to the office together.
100%.
Everyone thinks of it as like the mandate you have. No, dude, that's where you figure out what you're doing on Friday night. They become your best friends. 35% will get married. And like, it's not fun doing SDRing or inside sales in your apartment.
It's so true.
Like your 600 square foot apartment in whatever city you're in, you want to go and be with a crew. And by the way, Oracle was in Redwood Shores. I worked at Pure Atria. We were driving to Sunnyvale, but we would go gladly because we couldn't wait to hang out with everyone. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was like that piece is the missing piece that we don't talk about. Instead, it's like, oh God, these kids, they don't want to come in the office. Jesus. Well, we're going to mandate it, or we're going to do some trick or gimmick. It's like, no, dude, like, have them come in because it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're at a tipping point there. I actually not at my
tipping
current
point. Look at this guy.
All
right, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, whatever.
Not at my current company, but at a previous employer. I actually had BDRs leave the company to go work at companies that had offices.
Yeah, that's
and they were successful and they liked the work, but they were just like, dude, I can't sit in my apartment 10 hours a day just dialing for dollars. Like, I want to be around other people. I want to go to happy hours. I want to make friends. So it just makes sense.
Also, I think the modeling after like the top person in your group, and you're near them and you see them and you see and it was cool to be the top person in the group. So you aspire, and you had the role models of the higher ups in the organization that maybe you would see, maybe you would get to be in a meeting with them. There's that aspirational aspect that I think you completely lose if you're just on the phone doing your calls all day. So I totally agree. I think working from home, I mean, I love working from home now, but I wouldn't trade those years I had in the office being on a big team where we're like working hard together, playing hard together and getting better. I mean, there's some talk about famous. I mean, people on my team were Brian Millham from Salesforce was on that team. Carl Schachter, who's done a bunch of great stuff. I mean, we had some really stellar people that we were all just learning and growing together. And like I said, really cool to be successful. So it was almost like a competition. So I totally agree.
So I'm going to piggyback that because also part of the story that goes with going to the office is you could probably do a podcast or a blog on just stories from Oracle DMD.
Oh, yeah.
Horrifying, hair-raising, often like scandalous, primarily scandalous. Like that is but those things go together. Like that company was rocking and rolling because these young folks are going in Oracle DMD and just, Animal House going crazy in there and just freaking selling shit and having fun together and meeting their friends and like, remember what was the Neil Diamond cover band? You'd go
Super Diamond.
You go to a Super Diamond concert and 75% of the people there were Oracle DMD.
Yep.
every time.
Yep.
I'd just be like, you know what? This is just ridiculous, right? Because everyone was trading like that. Yeah, so those two things go together. But anyway, great job on the story. That was great.
great
I
story.
was,
Thanks.
I didn't warn her, so I was a little worried. And so that you delivered. Interestingly, Stacey, one of our issues is some people don't know how to tell stories.
They don't.
Yeah,
Oddly
and
enough.
so that story thing is like really we hold our breath, and that was good. Okay, so the big one. So with your incredible experience plus your just deep dive into things and working now as an advisor, like what are the we want to figure out what's working. So like what are the 1 to 3 things that you're seeing out there that are working in today's environment? And we'll just go from there. We'll ask questions and dive in.
Well, let's transition because that's what
Yes.
we do from a story.
That's context switch.
I still think that there are so many companies that can't tell their story. And you know, and I do want to talk about AI, and I love AI, and I'm, you know, doing my best to learn where we're headed with AI. But I still see company after company that does not have a strong positioning framework of sure what they do. Everybody talks about what they do. Everybody talks about their features. People are pretty good at that. Companies are pretty good at that. But the why does it matter? Who is my buyer? Where is my buyer hanging out? What do they care about? Why does it matter to them? What makes it different? And that's a big one. What makes it different? So many companies still just do what I call random acts of marketing. They're like, this is what our product does. Now go market it, team. Go sell it, team. And just say whatever you think are the value props. And so every campaign is different from what the website says. And there's blogs and content left and right. But none of them are anchored on this core positioning framework that is their story. We talked so much about brand. Like brand is having a rebirth, which I love. But to me, brand is, sure, it's a tagline, it's colors, it's visual. But the brand is the feeling that the audience gets when they learn about the product or the company. And without a great story that is anchored in a solid positioning framework, it's just so hard to do that well and so hard to do that consistently. And that's where I'm focusing my work right now. I mean, I'm doing some fractional, some advising, but what I really love to do is like, let's get to the heart of your positioning. What makes you different? Why are you important? And what is your story? Because I think there's just companies aren't doing that well of that these days.
Well, I think thematically, by the way, there is 2 types of guests on the show. Those that sort of bite on the new shiny object thing, and that's really interesting for us. But the other is that like this sort of the need to go back to just fundamental go-to-market stuff. And so that is a good one. I feel like it's never been good, though. Is that a weird statement? Like there's always been a market for helping people with positioning because they just kind of we're in tech, and they just build the product and then they go, and then it's like, I
think because there's been so many successful companies that didn't do that piece right? And I think like the one thing that's always true about the Valley is there are these edge case companies who defy basically every rule that exists, and just because they're the right product at the right time and they just achieve PMF so quickly, they don't really do those things. But I think the other thing that people forget is, you know, these companies might go 0 to, 500 million fast IPO. Then they have to still do all that work, right? Because now they have to sustain that, and that's when it matters. So whether the work gets done in the early part of your journey, which I think for most successful companies it does, or happens later for the few edge case companies where they're just so wildly successful, that work always has to get done.
Yeah,
it always has to get done.
I think the edge case companies that are wildly successful, the story is so evident that it doesn't need to be crafted. It's just like, let's take Slack. I don't think I don't think Stuart sat down and said, let's put our positioning framework. It took off. People were using it. The use case was so evident. you didn't have to really craft a story. Now, over time, they had to craft a story. They had competitors. They needed to, have an acquisition or go public. There's a reason for that. But as you mentioned, I was at SuccessFactors, which I took public. I was at Freshworks, which I took public. The first thing you do when you go public in the preparation is you write an S1. An S1 is the story of the company. It's a book about the company. And it's exactly that. It's the why do we exist? What does our product do? Why are we great? What is the competitive landscape? What are we going to do in the future? That is the story of the company. By the time you get to IPO, you should have that. And I just urge all companies, do it now. I mean, when we took SuccessFactors public, I was the first marketer at SuccessFactors. So the positioning had kind of always been there. And it was like, we sat down with the bankers and we said, yeah, this is our positioning. This is what we've been using. Freshworks was a little different. Freshworks was more like an edge case where it was PLG growth, super fast. It was easy to use. It was relatively inexpensive compared to other tools, and the growth was just organic. But when it came time to go public and write the S1, the story had never really been crafted. And we had to spend a lot of time on like, wow, what a crowded market, and we're in multiple markets. And I just think the sooner companies document that positioning and that narrative, the more powerful their message is going to be in the market.
I got a quick follow-up question, because oftentimes marketers who, maybe they join at the Series B, or they're not a founder of the company, and they're like, hey, I want to put this together because this is an important part of our marketing, right? Like, we want this on the website. We want this, to maybe kick off our sales deck or be interwoven into our sales deck. We want it to
interwoven. Sorry, I enjoyed that word.
Thank you.
As you were.
They want it to be maybe a part of, email campaigns, etc. Oftentimes it's really challenging to work with a CEO, especially CEOs that can be like technical founders that, they're just like, hey, I want to write code all day and I want to build the thing and I want to project manage and we want to get the next set of products and features out the door. How have you found success, especially like, we'll stay on Freshworks because that was an edge case. How did you find success working with the founder in order to bring that to life?
Yeah, I think, I came into Freshworks pretty late in the game. I came in literally 6 months before the IPO. In fact, my second day on the job, we were in the S1 meeting, which I didn't, I knew that it was coming. I didn't really know it was going to be my second day on the job. And I was like, okay, where is all this stuff? And it didn't exist. Now, they also hadn't had a CMO in a year and a half. And he wanted to hit the IPO date. And he had bankers saying, we got to write this story. So and I think Girish, who was the CEO at the time, so he was just fully on board. Let's go.
Highly motivated,
highly motivated. I mean, it was a little hard for me being new because I was like, I got to herd a bunch of cats and we can't slow down and I'm going to have to bust some balls to do this, which is not really how I wanted my first few months on the job to be. But everyone was kind of pretty much on board that we had to do it. I have worked with plenty of CEOs, and you're right, it's typically the ones that are more of a technical background that are just like, I don't want to waste my time doing some positioning framework. Can we please just do some great marketing? And, sometimes I have to quiet myself from disagreeing vehemently. But where I usually can have success is like just chunking off the tip of the iceberg for them and doing the bulk of the work myself or with the marketing team. Because we need a lot more of a framework to execute campaigns and to be consistent. Like, what the marketing team needs is fairly extensive to use as their anchor. What the CEO needs to see and agree on is really just the tip of the iceberg. And a great way to go about it is, okay, what do you want the homepage of your website to say? Because if you don't want to talk about benefits or value props or differentiators, but let me show you the website today, it's really not that compelling. And I don't think your buyer is going to take action. And let's remember, the website is for the uninitiated. People that know you aren't going to go to your website. It's the people that don't know you. And you want to immediately grab them with why you're different and why they should pick you and why they should have a call. And so there are some tricks of the trade to get the CEO to at least agree to the top level stuff and then do what needs to be done with the marketing team. They don't need to be involved in that. Excuse me.
I love that, because like my experience, like with fundamental things that need to get done, don't get done. And it's because you have to find that thing that they actually care about. So like ICP work, so necessary. I'm working like really early stage, right? These guys are off to the races and probably in the wrong way. But if you go to them and say, well, you need an ICP, they'll say yes. Mm-hmm. But when you want to go through the process of putting it together, they don't jump on board.
It's a lot of meetings.
Yeah, what instead you want to do, and we learned this at Topo. Like at Topo, we had, that was like the core product. If you ask like 40% of the customers, they'd be like, God, they just helped with the ICP. We never pitched it because we would go in and they say, our SDRs are not doing well. We'd be like, great. Well, look at it. And we just go, well, first of all, you don't have an ICP. And so we got to go. So we took that thing that they cared about, which was conversion of SDRs, and then we're able to weave in those fundamental things that they need to go do. Had we pitched just the fundamental things that we go do, not everyone would have bid. But when we focused on like one thing, it's like the website. I love what you just said. That they can relate to. It's like, your website's not converting. Okay, great. So to do that, we got to go through this positioning exercise. See, the chipping off the pieces of the iceberg, particularly the ones that they care about, is brilliant. I get it. Well, you got to live. You're living it, so you got to go figure this things out. But
yeah, no, I live it, and I think that the other tip in there is do as much of the work as you possibly can without needing the approval and involvement of the CEO, because having been a CEO, you're doing a million things. And I do think marketers sometimes tend to get a little bit miffed if they're not getting the constant interaction and the approvals and the feedback. And my response to that is it's nothing personal. They're doing, and especially if they are technically oriented, they're doing what they're great at, which is driving product vision and executing on the product side. The last thing I want is to drag them into marketing. Like that's my expertise. So I'll just do it all and I'm going to share it. And if you want to see it and you have thoughts, great. Otherwise I'm just going to keep executing. And, I do think there are key, again, like I need you CEO to agree with me that these are the top 3, benefit statements. These are the top 3 differentiators. And then I'm just going to go do a whole bunch of shit without you even needing to know. And the next thing you know, you've got a great marketing program and you barely lifted a finger. That's a CEO loves that. So that's, I think the other key tip is just go, just do work, just do great stuff. Try to get it aligned. If you have that skeletal alignment and then you build great stuff from that, you could do a lot of awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, I got another scenario on this one. Sorry to keep hard, but this you nailed it, right? So we got to talk about it. The other thing is, so let's say often the CEO and founder, let's go back to the technical founder. They love the product. So how do we unwind them to a messaging platform? Because when you ask them what's great about what you do, it's often really tactical. And like when I was an analyst, right? I was an analyst for a while. We'd say we would, lead with like, tell us your story. And like, we would ask the questions you're bringing up, Stacey. And they would immediately oftentimes go, well, let me show you the product.
Yeah.
Or it'd be something really tactical like that.
Yeah, it's hard. I like to go to use cases. I took on a new client about a month ago that I'm helping launch out of stealth. It's going to be super interesting, and I'll tell you about it when it comes out next month. But
pre-release.
Maybe offline.
Well, I could probably tell you about it.
You tell us offline.
You don't have to, Stacey. Come on, let's not get her in trouble.
It's a really cool AI company that isn't just automating a process. They're like changing the way work is done. And it's actually not very hard to understand. But but the CEO is very technical and was talking about the product. And I kept saying, give me an example. What would be a use case? I love coming back to use cases because use cases come back to the benefit for the company. So instead of telling me what the product does, tell me how that would be used. Give me an example of how a CEO would use that. Give me an example of how an end user would use that. And then I can start to get the story. And the other thing here is that sometimes you just have to know that not every CEO is going to be a great storyteller. Not every CEO is going to be your spokesperson. It's harder because press only wants to talk to CEOs, and when you get to near liquidity events, bankers only want to talk to CEOs. But if you're creating a really cool video for your hero on your website, it doesn't have to be narrated by the CEO. You can find other ways to tell the story. But I think to pull the story out of them, again, I go back to use cases. The other thing is talk to customers. You absolutely have to talk to customers. This same company that I'm talking about that I'm helping launch out of stealth, we filmed some customer testimonials. They have great early customers, and I learned more from the 2 hours of interviewing their customers on camera than I learned from any demo or talking to anybody on the team. And I literally just went through the transcript and pulled out 10 quotes and said, this is our video. Like, this is just the customers talking about why it's great. And there's an art to asking the questions. You have to ask questions like, define what it means to you. Like, make them define the product, especially when it's sort of an esoteric AI thing that's new. But having customers talking about it is such an awesome way of pulling out all the value, the benefits. What a better way than hearing it from them.
I like it.
Love it.
Yep, let's chalk that one up for a good one. All right, what else you got? Any other things you're seeing out there that we should be thinking about that are working?
We can evolve to AI a little bit. So we talked about my podcast, I've Got Questions. I know you love the name. I mean, the name.
Yeah, you're bringing it up just to make Sam's
Yes.
heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to get him where
Let's
it
talk
hurts,
about
but yeah.
naming. No, I went very literal. The reason I started the podcast is because I felt like I'm not in a full-time CMO job right now, and I'm like missing the boat, and I want to know what's going on out there. And honestly, that's why I started. It was sort of self-interested motivations for starting it. And the season 1, which I'm just about to wrap up, was all me interviewing founders of AI for marketing companies. In fact, I interviewed a couple of scale portfolio companies, which was very fun. Thank you, Craig, for some of those introductions. But that as I was asking for feedback on like, what do CMOs want to hear about? What do marketers want to hear about? What I kept hearing was, we still need help getting started. It's amazing how many companies I talk to that are like, I'm not at the point where I'm picking 3 different vendors to do cool AI stuff. I haven't even gotten my team really going, which might be shocking to us, but there are still, especially outside of tech, so many companies that are doing just like barely have ChatGPT going. So season 2 of my podcast is I'm only interviewing CMOs, and I'm having CMOs tell me what are they doing. And there have been some really interesting things. I haven't launched season 2 yet, so just a couple of spoilers. Like, I interviewed a CMO who took away all role definition on her team. Her marketers do everything, and it's a small team. I think she's got like 10 or 12 people, but she does have product marketing, demand gen, brand. Everybody does everything because they can with AI. You can use AI to do positioning. You don't necessarily need product marketing. You can use AI to segment and create a campaign and distribute, figure out how to run the campaign. So she's like, I don't know if it's going to work. I'm giving it a try, but it's interesting to see some of these new ways of not just like, what AI tool am I using, but how is it changing the way I'm running my team, because I can do things so much more effectively with AI. So that was just one example. But again, I'm trying to learn too. It's changing so fast. It's really pretty amazing how AI is changing the marketing world, maybe more than any other function.
Yeah. So By the way, that was amazing. The all free safeties marketing team. I love that. That's definitely new. By the way, I met this woman, Lisa Cole. Do you guys know her? She's like based in like Detroit, and she runs like a AI.
Don't spend a lot of time in Detroit. Not enough.
Well, she's
not enough
anyway,
time.
She's the CMO of 2X, which is like a AI, like some kind of services firm. But I met her because like I was doing a presentation on go-to-market AI data, and her comments were amazing. And so one thing, Stacey, I will circle back to Lisa. I was talking about how we had a guy, David Boscovich, who's like on the show. It's the most amazing episode, and like he spoke at go-to-market summit for us. And he's done incredible stuff with AI. And one of the things that he was talking about is like when you hire now with AI, you're hiring for taste. It was such a good word. Like it's like he was talking about content marketing. He interviewed like 37 people, and the person he hired like showed him didn't bring a book of all the articles that they'd written. It was like, here's how I use AI to get here, and here, or she said, and this is like an example of, and she was able to present her remarkable taste. And so this is how I knew I liked Lisa. I told that story while doing a presentation, and she said, right now we only hire for taste, and we call them tastemakers. Her marketing team is filled with tastemakers. Cool. Isn't that great? Yeah. What do you think of that?
I like it.
Naming. Because like when you bring people in and you could do a lot, instead you're sort of moving, you're able to make your team and the people that work for you more strategic, because they're not doing all of the like little things that they used to have to deal with. Like marketing teams were just always having to do all of this like minutia work. And the good ones were organized in a way to get it done, but now they can capitalize on being a tastemaker and being able to leverage that for some bigger things and bigger ideas and more ideas. It's really an amazing time.
Yeah.
So anyway,
another CMO that I talked to did like an offsite, got her whole team in the room and said, let's make a list of all the things that we hate to do in our jobs. That was the subject of the offsite. And they made a big list of all the things they hate, and they were all of those things you're talking about, all that minutia, administrative, dealing with systems, and then they have, this is another interesting thing we should talk about, is like who owns AI in the company, but they had a really good like markups person on their team that was their AI like czar, and that AI czar took the entire list and then spent a week figuring out how to do it all in AI. So it just basically took away all the painful part of being a marketer and left me with all the fun, creative, the things that I'm good at, the things that I enjoy. I mean, talk about the future of work. How great is that? Yeah. That I get to only do the things that I love, and AI is doing all that crappy work that I hate. Like what a great world this is going to be.
Yeah, I love that. So let's talk about the AI czar.
Yeah.
By the way, Matt, you need a czar in your organization. Do you have anybody with the title czar?
No, but we are putting out a rec for something similar.
Okay. So
they don't have to be Russian though.
And what team? What team? What team are you putting them on? Because that's I think the big question is it on ops? Is it in IT? Does it report to the CMO?
Yeah, it's in ops. It's
question.
Interesting. My CRO and I are kind of going back and forth in terms of like where it lives.
Yeah.
Like is it part of RevOps, or like is it a part of IT? I would say like given the scale of our company today, ops probably makes the most sense because our IT is still just very focused on product delivery. And doesn't have a lot of time for GTM execution. So I think it just makes the most sense.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating because, at Freshworks, when I was at Freshworks, when ChatGPT came out, and I feel like that was just a point in time where every company was like, holy shit, we got to get on board. And I remember our CFO saying, basically any AI project will be funded. as a way of just getting people going, which was great at the time. But I think now here we are a couple years later, and you would never want to do that because you would just bury yourself in all these like disjointed AI projects. You sort of need that central location.
Yes.
But then there's the whole, IT is where projects go to die. And I'm not saying that I believe that about, there's a lot of great IT teams, but I think there is a little bit of a debate of who in the org is the one that's saying, hey, let's do a bunch of AI, but let's like do it in some sort of an organized way where we aren't just burying ourselves with all these like disjointed AI projects that aren't helping.
Yeah, that's a good call. All right, I'm going to give you guys some data. You ready?
Yay.
I accept data.
Data challenge accepted.
Yeah.
I will interweave it with other things we've discussed.
Wow,
Matt,
you
I got
really
you.
liked that word earlier.
I don't know why. It's not that great, but
No,
I
it's
just
not-
did.
it's pretty
I lock
medium.
in. I can't get off it. Yeah. All right. So we did a survey with Benchmark It on go-to-market AI. The data's done. We're just going through everything. But one of the things we want to dig in on was the go-to-market engineer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So according to the data, we did over 200 people. 50% of organizations have hired or are considering hiring a go-to-market engineer. I'd say most of them are in considering. We didn't break it up. We kind of kept it in the big bucket. We'll break it up in the next survey. One thing you guys brought up that we didn't ask that I need to ask is where do they report?
Yeah.
That's interesting. That was when you guys went on that track, I was like, ooh, did not pick that part up. But the key there is like having someone who is, go-to-market engineer is the Tsar of AI, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially if they're Russian. They
Yes,
might
it's
be,
clear. Yes.
By the way, what's the difference between the CZAR and the TSAR? They're both Tsars, right? It's the same thing, it's just different spelling?
Sam's saying yes. I'm feeling like it's a no, but that's okay.
I believe so.
right.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the CZAR is the etymology comes from
Lord.
Caesar.
Oh, God, Jesus. All right. Next,
That's completely out on a limb, and if that's wrong, I'm going to edit this entirely out.
Yeah.
This is an AI show. You should be looking it up on ChatGPT.
I am. Just give me a moment.
Oh, God. She goes,
Oh,
Actually,
boy.
I am part, well, actually not Russian, but now Ukrainian. Hold on. Let's see. What is Tsar?
Slava Ukraini.
Oh, I think it's.
I lost
hold
the
on.
So, Matt, what is the role that you're adding? Is it like exalted one, or if it's not Czar?
all right. As she looks it up, here's the
I
second
got it
part.
for
to
you.
Go.
Tsar and Czar are both English transliterations of the Irish word Tsar, which itself comes from the Latin Caesar. Caesar, I bet you never knew that.
Wow, look at this guy. Boom.
The word
All right.
means emperor or supreme ruler. TSAR is the more common modern spelling, and CZAR is an older anglicized version. There you go. Same word.
Oh, man. Look
Comes
at
from
that.
Caesar. Now we're all that much smarter.
You know what? You just made us smart. See, AI enabling us strategic folks, so now we can think big.
Yeah.
Etymology for 800, Alex.
Yeah, that's right. You would have got that. All right. So the second data point. So 50% are either have hired or considering hiring a go-to-market engineer. And then the second part is organizations hiring a go-to-market engineer are 30% likelier to be seeing big impact from AI. So that's a good data point for where we are right now. I think as you guys we do need someone to own this process. And people sort of push back. It's like because a lot of really good AI shops that we've seen, like it's so democratic that a lot of people are just building stuff and going, hey, look what I built, and it sort of takes off from there. But like then you end up with like massive, just not chaos, but you've got sort of AI everywhere, and you need someone to go help sort of get these things going. And the go-to-market engineer role, whether you call it that or not, you can call it a czar, you can call it whatever, like that seems to be one of the key hires you would make, or hire or hires you would make in order to sort of lead your AI transformation?
When I think of a GTM engineer, I think of somebody who's like hacking through that whole SDR process, that like lead conversion process. But there's also so many other ways that you could be using AI in your go-to-market function for creating content, for, authoring executive bylines. There's like, to me, there's like the GTM engineer is one distinct part of like the inbound flow or the funnel, but there are also other AI things going on that marketing and sales and customer success and that are happening in the company that also sort of need a czar. It's like two levels of AI stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point. I should have led with the top part. Let me give you guys one more thing. So we asked about AI transformation. So like who in your organization is the primary transformation driver? So 41% said company leadership, so those at the top. And then 34% said functional leadership, right? So basically leadership is driving this and starting this process. If you combine that with having someone in charge, then that's sort of your recipe for success. You're sort of leading from the top. But when we looked at the data, only 14% said individual team members, but we didn't really see that big of a difference in impact between where it started, right? It's just in my opinion, the main message is you just got to start doing, right? And talking to the machines, and then the power can unlock. So anyway, I thought based on what you guys were saying, I thought I would share some data points. I think that's really interesting as we sort of figure out kind of how we're going to go do this, like going forward. Yeah. On the, when I was at Gartner, what I did learn in some of the big mainstream organizations was, even back then there was like, they were trying to sort of repurpose the IT group, right? And one of the things they were doing, they would assign, Matt used to run into them in Everstring, right? They were like big centralized groups that would assign like 40 people to go think about transformation of sales or transformation of marketing. It wasn't like what we thought of as traditional. In tech, it's like marketing ops figures out and tells IT what they're going to do. In those organizations, you talk to a CRO, it'd be like, well, that's what IT does for me, right? And what I found working with them is they were ahead of the game. They were looking at all this stuff. But because they didn't have a go-to-market background, they didn't know what to do first. Yeah. And they had trouble selling their ideas, And so that's why, it is important to have that combination of understanding what the go-to-market looks like and this level of curiosity and then eventually know how to be really effective in driving AI transformation in the go-to-market.
Yeah, I agree. I think IT in the past has helped us automate our processes. And, look back at SuccessFactors way back when. One of the first SaaS products was just automating performance reviews, which used to be done in Word documents, and now it's done online. And the thing with AI is that AI lets you completely reimagine new processes. And if you don't understand the function and like what happens in marketing and what happens in sales, then you can't reimagine with AI. So IT was just like, okay, well, let me learn how you did performance reviews and let me go find a software program that does that online. Great. Same with ERP, like pick a product that IT has implemented. It's just automating something that we're already doing. But I think AI is doing things in completely new ways. And that's why you need somebody who isn't just technical, but also has that functional knowledge. And like you said, the curiosity and the willingness to just think of new ideas and creativity.
I love it.
Love it.
Hey, can I ask you guys a quick question on the way
Sure.
out?
We're just getting started.
I know. That's the problem with doing an
have
hour
a cup
on the
of
show.
coffee. Let's go.
What? Oh, have a cup of coffee. Yeah, got it. Was I low energy? Do I need coffee?
No, I'm just saying
okay.
we're not going anywhere.
We're not going
I was
anywhere.
kidding,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. Okay, I won't tell a story. I'll go into my thing. Are B2C, like consumer companies better at positioning and like gravitating to positioning than our world of B2B, in particular tech?
I mean, I think so. And part of the reason why is that consumer companies don't have sales in between them and the customer. Marketing goes straight to the consumer. Like what I put on my website, if I'm Nike and I'm putting just do it, that's going straight to that has to sell, right? If I'm a B2B company, I'm putting my messages out, but I still can rely on a salesperson to do a demo and a sales cycle and show you the value prop. And it's a shared sale, but consumer companies, they have to grab the customer because they're responsible for that conversion. I think it just puts more emphasis on the need for that positioning to sell versus create interest.
Yeah, I mean, I started my career in consumer packaged goods, and you can't even launch a product unless you have a positioning statement because
of course.
you can't get it into retail. Nobody knows who it's for. You have to be very definitive. Like, I worked at Red Bull. It was like, this is a functional beverage. We had to just sort of define what a functional beverage was. And then we had to define who was the buyer. Ultimately, we wanted more people to buy it than who we started off with. But like, this was for a certain subset of the population, and we were very clear about that.
Yeah, it feels that way. Okay, that makes total sense because it does feel like, well, yeah, because I guess also because I'm surrounded by consumer marketing, and also it's interesting how the sort of stories we tell on brand transformations gone wrong are like consumer, because brand is so important, right? And yeah, it makes total. I remember talking to a brand agency person. They were saying like what Stacey just said, which is like, no, they're looking at the revenue number and what their campaign and message will do to the bottom line. It feels like we could in B2B do a great campaign, and God willing, we're saying it's going to move the needle, but it feels like the needle's either moving or it's not. Yeah. All right. Sorry, I had to throw that in there. That was helpful. Cool. All right. So, Stacey, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You have now broken the ice. I really want to meet this person that's running the free safety marketing team.
That's really cool. I like that.
I can intro you to her for sure.
God, that's great. All right. So, Stacey, we hope we can make you more famous. Everyone should listen to your podcast, and if you have ideas for her on her podcast and she's learning, I think that could be a good place to go do that.
Please.
I'm just glad we were able to have you on. We do that. Like I said, we're doing this mix, and like last week we released the Tom Murtaugh. We had a guy named Tom Murtaugh, and he was like, I don't want to bore you guys with this old school thing, but like, he does sales. He's like, but the most important thing you can do right now is deal control. And he's like, sorry, it's old school. We're like, no, not sorry. It is interesting that like a lot of the fundamental things, once again, are getting lost as we get awash in like go-to-market AI and new, right? Like we can't forget like the most important things you have to do to sell shit and market shit. Yeah.
Totally agree.
All right. Well, Stacey, have a great
So
weekend.
fun.
Thanks for coming on. Yeah, that was awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you. Matt, thank you. Sam,
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of The Transaction. Craig and I really appreciate the fact that you've listened all the way to the end. What are you actually doing here? For show notes and other episodes, please visit us at thetransactionpod.com. Like and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other place you get your podcast from. Either you have walked away from your podcast device, or this is playing somewhere in the background. Someone in your house would really like for you to shut this off now.